I'm Levi Haines, and I'm a man that lives by gratitude, character, and faith.
All right, we're going to start off. Levi, thanks for being with us, right? This is easy.
Yeah.
This is easy. This is the
It's
gravy
the easy
right now.
part.
This is the easy part.
Too easy.
So, you've heard me talk a couple times about character. That's a big part of our program.
Absolutely.
In your life, has there been any like coach or mentor or parent that's really helped affect your character?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I've taken a little bit from a lot of coaches, but I'd say the main one's been my dad. He's always kind of been there for me, and definitely just kind of always watching him. I think it's different when you kind of always have your eyes on your parents, and just watching him when I was growing up, just kind of basing my character off that and how he is, and sometimes for the good and bad,
Right.
Nobody's perfect, so sometimes learning from his mistakes and trying to do better for myself.
Yeah, that's important too, right? We're all going to make mistakes. We're all human. We're
Absolutely.
understanding that's what's going on, right? And how do we learn from them? We talk about like failing
Right.
forward. Hey, nobody tends to make those things. Those things happen, but they can make us better.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So how do you think that's affected your performance?
I think he's just a guy that always worked hard, so I've not always been like the best guy, but I always just kept on kind of chipping away and finding a way. And I think that's one thing that he taught me at an early age, is just find a way. And I think that helped me in life, but also in my wrestling career as well. School too. I've not been a person who's always picked up school super quick. I've always had to kind of work at it, but just that find a way kind of
Right.
mentality that I got from him has benefited me through all aspects of my life: school, relationships, and obviously my wrestling career.
Right. So it's important, because we were just talking about that on the way over here, was that, school's about knowledge. I got to read something and repeat it and get as little wrong as possible.
Right.
And that's not what you learn from.
No.
So it's interesting, like there's the experiential side where I can go out, make a couple mistakes, and that's how I'm figured out and pick myself up and keep doing it that way, right?
Yeah.
It's a different way forward. Can you talk a little bit about, like, you had a unique path to Penn State, right?
Yeah.
You decided not to wrestle your senior year. Can we talk a
Correct.
little bit about that?
Yeah, so I decided not to wrestle my senior year of high school. I'm originally from like the Gettysburg area, and so I moved up here to State College went my senior year high school wrestling to train full time at David Taylor's club at M2 Training Center, and also at the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. I committed to come to Penn State, so I felt like at that point in time it was kind of my best option to just become the best that I could be, and that's what I was looking to do. So it was a very hard decision. Obviously, I wanted to go win a state title as a senior, and that would all have been cool, but when it boiled down to it, I was like, man, I don't think somebody's going to be like, oh, remember that time you won a state title as a senior? Like, that didn't matter to me, and I didn't really care what people thought. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put all my eggs in a basket. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go become the best I can be, and I'm going to really dedicate this year to getting better and
Super cool.
enjoying it. But yeah, it was tough, and it was a big sacrifice by my family, really. I kind of had the easy part. My parents kind of had to figure out moving and stuff, but it was just, they're like, all right, we'll take care of this. You just go train. So
Wow.
very fortunate, very
Wow,
fortunate.
That's pretty cool.
So it wasn't just that I bought in, but my entire family really did as well. My mom and dad's, both sides of their families are all from there, so that was definitely a different kind of commitment level that
Right.
you don't see from most parents. So very fortunate that way.
No, that's really cool. And what I like too, one of the things we talk about is creating a connected community wherever we go, right? And you're talking about like, hey, I'm wrestling here, but I'm only going to go as far as my parents. Like, I need that support system behind me,
Yes.
right? That
Yeah.
plays a big role.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes. My parents have always played a big role in that. So when I was originally wrestling at M2 there, they were driving 2 hours each way. So it would be 4 hours of driving 3 nights a week to get me to club practice and back home for school the next day. So it was just unbelievable commitment from them. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I can't thank them enough for
Right.
what they did for me. They sacrificed a lot, and my sister as well. It's a lot of time away from her and stuff, and so yeah, just something I probably can never repay them
Right.
for. But
Right.
I just it's very special.
That's cool. Well, you're paying them now by your performing. You're being a good example, right? A good example for your community and other kids to follow. Like, hey, this is what you could do. You put your mind to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, my kid's a fan, right? He was always like, Levi's up, and he would just pop up. No disrespect to anybody else, but he just loved watching you run up and do your thing, man. He just like, man, that guy's just so in the moment.
Yeah,
always say, look at him, Daddy. I think that guy's just so in the moment. I was like, and it really just showed, like, you're just like walking out there, like, yeah, I'm like walking in the sheets or walking in a wall or wherever. You just like, it's just the way you walk. The walk up, I thought was really cool. So, what attracted you to Penn State? Why'd you pick Penn State?
I kind of always wanted to go there, but I obviously my connections with David and everybody kind of helped forge that way. But I remember, like, I think it's really generic for people to say like wrestling, like you just go out there and have fun. But I really related well to Coach Kale when he's talking about like gratitude and kind of how he approaches wrestling. If I think about winning too much, I struggle doing that. So I feel like a lot of college programs like, we're here to win, we're here to do this, and obviously everybody does. That's just competitive sports.
Sure.
Everybody wants to win, but Coach Kale has a different outlook on it, and the whole coaching staff as well, not just Coach Kale. But they were just talking about becoming the best wrestler I could be, but also the best person, and that really attracted me to Penn State. That was like kind of like the last nail in the coffin. I was like, man, that's where I'm gonna go. Not only do they have an awesome program, but they're gonna help. When they say that, they're definitely going to help me become the best version of myself that I can be. And I think that's ultimately what every person strives for.
Yeah, that's it. And I found out, you told me before, if you weren't a wrestler, tell people what you wanted to be.
I want to be a mountain man. Just want to go live on a mountain.
That's awesome. Let's go. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I had that as a choice.
Me too.
So you spoke about gratitude. So tell me about that. Like, what does gratitude mean to you? Let's start with that.
Gratitude to me is kind of like being thankful for all the opportunities that we were given, and I kind of use it as more of almost as a motivation a little bit, like that, man, I'm grateful for this opportunity, I'm going to go make the most of it. So that's kind of how I view gratitude. I think it can be, everybody views it a little bit differently, and kind of what am I trying to say here? They go about it different, like how they show gratitude, but I feel like I show the most gratitude by making the most out of every opportunity.
Right.
It's kind of how I view being grateful. I think actions speak a lot louder than words. You can tell somebody how grateful you are, but without going out and doing it, I'm not sure how much weight there is to it.
Right.
You're just telling somebody that you're grateful.
Right. That's great. And I was just saying, Aaron was just in here talking about, he thinks his gratitude is a verb.
Right.
Like, I got to do it. You don't have gratitude, you do gratitude.
Yeah, I agree.
So how do you I like you were talking about, it sounds like you use it to pull you into your moment. Is it from a performance perspective?
Yeah, it can be. It can also just be grateful for, say, like getting to come here today. Like, I think that's pretty cool, and being grateful for this opportunity, and who knows who sees this, it could maybe change their outlook on life or something. You know, I think that's being grateful for that. But from a competitive standpoint, absolutely. Like, I know there's a lot of people that wish they were in my position, and so I feel like once I get that I'm the guy who gets to go out and compete, that's pretty special. Like I say, and a lot of sacrifice behind getting me here. I feel grateful for all that, and I feel that that's what I should go do, is just be the best version of myself.
Right.
And that a lot of people see that I'm the one out there competing, but they don't understand everybody else behind me.
Right.
So I think I'm very grateful for that. I'm the person that gets to go out and compete.
Right.
But I also understand, like, all the people behind me, like, people don't see that little bit of work that all those people put into you. So I'm just grateful for all that. And I think that's how when I perform my best, that's how I view
That's great.
going out and competing.
Yeah, that's great. And by the way, one other thing kids are going to get out there and go, see, I can become a mountain man. That is something that's real. I don't have to. I want to be a mountain man. That's even. I like that even better. So talk about the room. Like the people, the wrestlers you're with in the room, how does that community affect you? Like you talked about your parents, but tell me about the wrestlers in there.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I mean, the talent that we have at Penn State is just unmatched, and how they all go about competing differently is really cool. Just kind of picking their little bit of mindsets and stuff, and some of them are very faithful, and others aren't as faithful. But I think to the guys who are really successful, you always see them. They have that like that little bit of extra, like looking up to something greater than themselves. And I think that's ultimately what makes the best athletes the best. So when you're not competing for yourself, but something greater than yourself.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I really appreciate about all those guys is like they don't use their kind of platform through wrestling just to be like, oh, look at me. They all use it to express their faith, and so I think that's really cool and something that has really helped me since I've got there, and seeing that from those guys.
Right, that's great. Right, again, it's like being the example, showing how do people you want to live. And you know, one of the things that we were just talking about was the stuff away from the mat.
Yeah.
Like, have you learned any of the things about how you want to be away from the mat?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to give back. I feel like a lot of these guys, you can see them, they're oftentimes giving back to the wrestling community, but also just like out like this here, like just being able to kind of give people some insight, not just wrestlers, but other people, and all this stuff doesn't just relate to sports, but just in life in general. Right. So yeah, that's what I think is very special about that room, is those guys. They're wrestlers, but they're humans at the end of the day too.
Right.
Like, wrestling isn't their identity.
Right.
They're people.
Right. So. Yeah, that's big, right? You're not your job in a roundabout way, because it's like the time you actually spend competing might be this big. But what about all this other time, right? Who are you all this other time? And that's really where you spend most of your time, right?
Absolutely.
So if you go back again, I want to start going back way back to the beginning. Are there any stories that you'd be like, oh man, as a kid, like these are the stories that helped shape me. These are the ones that might have been formed. It could have been hunting. It could have been wrestling. It could have been, the ones where you're like, this is it.
Yeah, and there's so many that kind of shaped me. I'm trying to think of a significant one. I have a pretty good one. I was in the PJWs is like our middle school state tournament, and I was in the finals, and I'm winning, and I have like a minute left. I'm winning up by 3 points. I'm just like trying to hold on the win, and as I've learned, that's probably not that's a really hard way to compete, man.
Right.
Sometimes it works, but oftentimes it doesn't, So I ended up getting taken down to my back, and I ended up losing by a point.
Oh, man.
And one of my coaches, he actually coaches at Penn State. He's part of the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, Mark McKnight. I get off the mat, go back in underneath the tunnel, and I'm pretty crushed. And he comes up to me, like taps me on the face, and he goes, "That's gonna hurt for a while." And I was like, "Why? Like, why on earth would he say that?" Right. And but looking back on it, was like him telling me like, "Hey, I understand how you feel,
right? And
we're gonna be better because of it."
Right.
And that was huge for me, because at that time I thought that was everything,
Right.
So when you have like a dream like that kind of snatched from you, that little bit of, like, I was looking for like like that stinks, whatever, But that little bit of pick me up, like, hey, I've been there,
right? But
also like we got room to grow, was huge for me. So I think that was kind of an important part of my life, and just there's so many stories I could share, but that's one that kind of sticks out to me. And
but just to come on that one, I like that is, again, it's like what shaped you wasn't winning that one, was losing that one. That helped you get better. Like, hey, how do I want to move through that so that doesn't happen again? But that just made me stronger. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I've found more times than not, losing really makes you reflect and learn from the experience. I think it's easy when you win to just feel like everything's going right, even though it could not be going perfectly for you. So, yeah, that when I've lost, I've always learned a lot.
Right.
So, it's like we said, being grateful. Like, nobody likes to lose, but sometimes just being grateful for that.
Right.
And having your eyes open to some of those things is huge. It's always kind of helped me jump levels in my career so far.
Right. I want to come back to a conversation we had a couple weeks ago where we were talking about the Nationals. You're like, you know what? I think the reason I lost was I was focused too much on winning. Can you talk
absolutely.
a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so through the whole tournament, through the semifinals, I was just out there. I was like, you know what? I'm the best I'm going to be right now, and that's just what it's going to be. I'm going to be myself. And even in the quarterfinals, I get thrown to my back. I'm down 6 points, and it was like I was in slow motion and I was just chipping away, came back. I felt great. Like I was just in the moment. And then finals comes around and it's like a long wait from the semis to the finals. Like we have like all night and then we don't wrestle till like 6 o'clock.
Right.
All the other guys on the team that aren't in the finals obviously are done wrestling. So kind of just laying in my room, like mind just kind of thinking.
Right.
And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. A lot of people probably didn't think I was going to be here. I did, and let's finish this off. Like,
right.
Let's win this. And my mind got into that just kind of thinking, let's win, let's win, let's win. And I've done it before, and I've done better of not doing that. But obviously I kind of went back into that and put a lot of pressure on myself, just stuff I didn't need to do. And I started worrying about, like, man, what are people going to think if I lose or if I win? Like, so, and I went out and I didn't perform to the level I could have, you know. And obviously looking back, it stinks, but I learned from it.
Right.
And I'm human, so I'm going to make mistakes. You know?
It is.
Unfortunately, it happened in a time that wasn't ideal, but it was a good lesson to learn, and still working on getting better, not falling back into that. But it's easy when you've done it for so long like that. It's easy to fall back into that. So yeah, I think like I said, I was thinking about being grateful for the opportunity and just being the best that I could be. So once I started thinking about winning, I started thinking about the guys wrestling and stuff like that. So just a lot of other distractions that just kind of also tired me out. You know?
Yeah.
That's tiring to wrestle that way. So
it's tiring. It's
different.
Stressful.
It's stressful, and it happens so fast. Every time I've noticed when I think about winning, the matches happen like that. It's like a blink of an eye and it's over.
Right.
It's not like that slow motion. Like I'm just out there in my flow.
Right.
Like I was talking about in the quarterfinals or semis. Like I was in my flow, was focused, present. But when you get not present or thinking about something else that really you can't control, I mean, it happens like that, and you're like, man, that stinks. That opportunity's passed. You know?
Right.
So
wild.
It really is. And one thing that's always kind of stuck with me, Coach Kale telling me, I remember one time I'd lost earlier in the year at some open tournament, and he's like, hey, you know, like whatever. And I was like, man, not like whatever, dog. Like that sucks. What are you talking about? And he's like, what, like, you feeling some pressure? I was like, absolutely. I felt like I had to go win. And he's like, well, that's easy, fix, just go lose, and then you don't have to worry about it. And I was like, that's not gonna happen, you know. So it's just funny how that stuff kind of comes full circle. So and just looking back on it, it's like it's easy for your brain to fall into those traps. So like I'm just gonna go out and win, and you kind of like wrestle tight. But in reality, if you're just flowing, it's the best way to win.
That's it. That's it.
Your mind tricks you into that. So it's been definitely a learning experience. So very grateful that it happened that way. Obviously, everybody wants to win, but that's the way it goes sometimes. And best ways to learn is sometimes by tripping up and making mistakes.
There's a great story, Coach K. I heard from a couple people where it was maybe 2013 or something. It was a number of years ago. We were wrestling Iowa, and he came in. He said, "Okay, guys, let's everybody go out there and make a mistake tonight." And everyone's like, "What?"
Right.
And they're like, "What?" What did he just say? He's like, "Because if you're making a mistake, you're wrestling loose. You're pushing yourself to your limits. So go.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to make a mistake." And that's really unique to tell somebody, right? Like how that might loosen you up a little bit. Versus you got to win. It's like you get you out of that stress mode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's very stressful when you try to go out and just win.
Yeah,
that's super stressful in my opinion. But like I'm just being myself, and that's what I'm gonna be.
Right.
Win or lose, I can live with that because that's just what I am at that time.
Right. That's you're gonna be on or off the mat. That's great. So, last question is, why do you think this kind of program is important for kids?
Yeah, I think it's important for kids in the aspect of learning that like winning isn't everything. And that their identity doesn't have to be through a sport. I feel like in youth athletics these days, it's like, man, he's going to be like the next best football player. Well, doesn't he just become the best version of himself?
Right.
You know? I think that this program is important to just so we can become the best versions of ourselves and not have to try to become something we're not, and comparing ourselves to others, I think is very detrimental to our development as athletes and as people, because we aren't them, and we're never going to be.
Right.
So I think a program like this is just a great way to strive to become the best you can be.
Well, thanks for being Levi Haines, and thanks for being a road warrior and being with us on the road to resilience, brother.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you having me
All right,
on.
man.
Take care.
Thank you.